أطع أمرنا نرفع لأجلك حجبنا.
How do we decide what is a fard action and what is not a fard action? So there's two conditions for the action to be considered fard. The first is its authenticity of text, what's called qat'i thabut. And by that what we mean is that how has the text reached us? Okay, what's the strength of the text in reaching us? And put simply for us, now that we've studied the hadith module, it's mutawatir. So something which is mutawatir. What's mutawatir? Either it's going to be Quran, all of Quran is mutawatir, or it could be a hadith, but it's of a mutawatir type. Now, of all the hadith that we've got, a very small number actually mutawatir, approximately 300, so it's not much. But if it's one of those hadith, then it's a mutawatir hadith, one of those 300 hadith, mutawatir hadith, and it has an action which is mentioned in that hadith, it could be deemed as fard if it has the second condition. And the second condition is what? Is that it has one clear meaning, what's called qat'i dalala. In other words, there's only one way of seeing this, there's no other way of interpreting it. So if it's reached us by qat'i dalala, in other words, it's a mutawatir text, Quran or mutawatir hadith. Number two, it only has one clear meaning, then by there we can establish there is a fard action. Okay, and this means that if we understand that definition, anything out with that is not going to be fard. So for example, say we had a mutawatir hadith, but it is open to interpretation, then it can't be fard. It might be wajib, slightly lower category, but it can't be fard. Or the hadith is clear, there is only one meaning of the hadith, however, the way it's reached us is not mutawatir, so it's ahad, so in other words, anything which is below mutawatir, then although the hadith has a clear meaning, because it doesn't have the first condition of being mutawatir, it cannot be fard, and it has to be wajib. Now, this is important because this is in relation to the Hanafi school. In other schools, text which is not mutawatir, ahad hadith, can actually establish a fard action, which is why the Hanafis differentiate between fard and wajib. They said fard, how can you equate something? Something is mutawatir and something's ahad. How can you equate them? They're not the same in strength, so one has to be given more importance than the other, and therefore they said this is fard, this is wajib. Other schools, they didn't look at that. They just said, look, the text, if it's got, it doesn't matter if it's mutawatir or ahad, it can actually establish an obligatory action. So in the other schools, fard and wajib more or less mean the same thing. In the Hanafi school, fard and wajib mean two different things. So if you're reading a text which is Hanafi and you read something as wajib, it doesn't necessarily mean it's fard. Okay, and you should know the difference between fard and wajib in the Hanafi school. If you're reading in another school and it said wajib, it basically means fard.
أطع أمرنا نرفع لأجلك حجبنا.